Welcome back to Third Man In. I'm Zack Phillips, and in tonight's live stream, we're going to be breaking down game number 39 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing this one here tonight to the New York Islanders, 4-3 in overtime. The Islanders with a late goal to tie this, or a goal to tie this one up after the Leafs were leading 3-2 late in the second period. There goes to OT. Not much action in terms of scoring opportunities for either team there in the third period. And then all of a sudden, the Islanders, 21 seconds into overtime, are able to score and finish this one off. And I mean, ultimately, I'm going to look at this and take away that overtime. I'm going to put it on Jake McCabe. I think he's been playing really, really well lately. I think he played pretty well for the most part here tonight, but that overtime goal, that's a direct result. McCabe ices the puck, then he loses the race with his man off the wall, doesn't tie him up, gets beat back to the net, and then it's his guy who ultimately ends up scoring and finishing that one 21 seconds in. You look at this Leafs team, both times they go into Long Island, you'd hope that the team would be able to come through for Tavares there to help him out. Every single time he's touching the puck, he gets booed. And also, by the way, going to be very, very honest with you, I know as a Leafs fan, I probably maybe shouldn't have this opinion, but they got every single right to boo John Tavares. Like, I got no problem with them booing Tavares there every time he goes back. That being said, if you're the Leafs or if you're Leafs fans online or whatever it is, stick up for your guy. Find a way to help him get wins and help him show out in these games and in these spots, because this is your opportunity to show him, your captain, how important he is to your team, how thankful you are for him coming here. Now, it's not necessarily like I think the Leafs played a bad game, but you've got an opportunity against a not-so-great Islanders team with a goaltender in Sorokin, who hadn't been playing that well so far this season. And you've got a chance here to kind of take it to them, roll into that barn and say, hey, we lost the last one, we tied it up late. Pretty cool moment for our captain there, scores his 1,000th career point, or gets his 1,000th career point. You ultimately lose that one in overtime, and then you go into this game. It's like, okay, well, now you've got an opportunity. You've got a day in between. You've got some rest opportunity here. You're coming off of 4 straight wins, and it was also kind of one of those ones where it's an opportunity to prove to people, like, hey, we don't just beat up on these lower-end teams. Like, we're not just going to beat them. Very, very strange team to kind of follow along with when you watch the dips, the ebbs, and the flows of them, because traditionally we sit here and say, you know what, they go down and they play down to the level of competition that they're playing that night. That's been a thing with them for basically the last 7 years, whether they're playing Arizona, Chicago, Anaheim, or a lesser team, San Jose, a lesser team here a little bit to a degree with the Islanders. But they win 3 straight against Anaheim, back-to-back against San Jose. Pretty commanding wins against San Jose both times. The game against Anaheim, I don't think any of us took away from and said they played a poor game here tonight. I think we're all pretty impressed with the way that they played, with how Martin Jones was in that game, with how the team played defensively. They let in 1 goal, and they find a way to bounce back through it. But other than that, they played pretty well over that stretch. And so you start to think, okay, now is when you start to show us something different. And these are the moments, I think, these are the losses where maybe it's frustrating to Leafs fans, frustrating to people like myself, people watching these games, breaking them down, where we sit here after the fact and you go, you started to tease us that you were a different team. You started to tease us that you're a different identity. You're going to respond differently. You're going to act differently. And then this game here tonight is just not the best game. It's not the worst game, but it's not the best game. And then you end up losing this one. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this was one game where you probably should have taken it to them. You jumped out to the 3-1 lead, and then you let them come right back in. Shouldn't happen. You should be able to shut out a team like this. I know who the Islanders were in the past. I know who they've been in the past. They're not that team this year. They're not that great of a team this year. Should be able to handle business. You didn't. That's kind of frustrating. And ultimately, I know that I was pretty impressed with the team over the last little while because it was more just about breaking a pattern of who they were. It's not necessarily that it was these incredible games, but it was breaking patterns of who they were, where you played down. On the season right now, this Leafs team is 21, 10, and 8. They're 3 games above 500. When you're just going to do the numbers, they're 21 and 18. That's 21 wins, 18 losses. 10 and 8, still 18 losses. You're 3 games above 500. That's not as impressive as where you'd like this team to be, especially at this point in time. You've dealt with some goalie stuff. You did deal with some injuries on the back end. But no matter what, I think that this was one where you want this win here tonight. You need to find ways to close out these games. You just do. Can't let teams back in it. Right now, currently watching, I appreciate everyone who is watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button here on the channel. Like the stream here tonight. You guys know, you've been here before. If you hit the like button every 50 likes, 50, 100, 150, then we do the smelling salts. Every set of 50, we do the smelling salts. So get it up to 50 here. There's enough people watching to get to 50. Also, Jason Burns saying, play down what? Cop out? I got no fucking idea what you're talking about, to be honest. This Islanders team is not that great. You basically played at their level here throughout the entire game. It was a pretty back and forth close battle. The Leafs came out at the beginning and felt decent in the first period, and then a little bit into the second, you get the 3-1 lead, and then from that point on, it was just back and forth. You basically felt like you played a wash. The Leafs were just trying to get out of there. This was an opportunity here to close this one out, run away with this game. You didn't. Took your foot off the gas, what it felt like. And yeah, you did play down a little bit to where the Islanders are. They're not a great team right now. They're just not. They're not playing like that great of a team. And you open the door, you let them back in. They tie the game back up. You do have a guy on the other end with Sorokin. He can be an incredible goaltender. All right, Jason. I don't know what to tell you, bud. Yes, Donnie does dishes. They lead the league in overtime games. That's good, isn't it? I don't know. It's fine with... Is Jason an Islanders fan in here? I'm confused what's going on. I think the chat is on crack tonight. Normally you guys are pretty decent. I have got no idea what is going on right now from any perspective. This is insane what I'm reading in this chat. I feel like we're watching different games at this point in time. I'm going to go back to the beginning here where you guys are at the beginning of this chat and start to read through and try to figure out what the hell is going on for us to get to the point that we're at right now, because this was just felt like from the Leafs that we just watched okay game. You were kind of just out there. Matthews gets a couple of goals, and then it wasn't like you really dominated anything from that point on. I don't know. I don't see how it played out any differently than that. Did they dominate this Islanders team? I really do not think that they did here tonight. Like, pull up Money Puck and see where this comes in, because maybe I'm out of my mind. It's a coin flip game. Deserve to win a meter. 55% for the Leafs, 44% for the Islanders. For 45% for the Islanders. Like, that's about as even as you could get. When you're going to talk about how they started this game, I don't know. Am I missing something? What? Martin Jones had a fine night. He was okay. 871 save percentage. Ideally here you obviously want a 900 save percentage or above. That's average goaltending. Goaltending is going to win you a lot more games. That being said, on the other side, Sorokin, 914. That helps them a lot here. I just still don't feel like it was these crazy opportunities, these high danger chances. I don't know. This is... We got a super chat here. I'm going to get to this. Otherwise, my brain might explode reading what's going on in the chat. truthfully. All right. Michael here with the super chat. Michael, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. Michael says, top teams like the Hurricanes and Jets employ a well-defined system. What system do the Leafs have, and is the lack of a cohesive system a result of coaching or player-related issues? Michael, this is a good point, actually. Talking about the Hurricanes and the Jets employing a well-defined system, I think it's very clear. The other teams that I would say are kind of in that position, in that boat, they play that way as well, would be Colorado, Dallas, Vegas. For the most part, you can kind of get that out of Florida as well. You saw them for the 1 year that they won the President's Trophy. They seemed a little bit run and gun, but then after that, into last season, into this season, Paul Maurice kind of narrowed things down, said we're going to play a structured system. We're going to be a team that has an identity, a very specific identity. We're going to buy into defense. We're going to buy into blocking shots, getting back, being physical. We're going to buy into all of this, and that is going to be part of who we are as the Florida Panthers. Why do you think the Jets, the Hurricanes, the Stars, Vegas, why do you think these teams have success year in, year out? It's because there are well-oiled machines that operate that way. This Leafs team relies a lot on skill. It felt like we were starting to see some of this identity buy-in, where you're seeing guys like Domi, Bertuzzi, Benoit, McCabe start to influence how the remainder of the team is going to be buying in, playing on a nightly basis, how they're going to act, how they're going to respond to certain things. And then outside of that, I would probably agree that it feels like this is not a very structured team. You feel like in the defensive zone a lot, it feels scrambly. They can feel lost. They feel like they lose their assignments. They feel like they're getting out of position a lot. It feels like you're losing control of certain situations where you're going to allow the other team to get some of these high danger chances, as well as when you go into the offensive zone. It's not like you're looking to play some type of structured system into the offensive zone. It's more about the transition. What happens when you lose the puck? What happens when there's a turnover? What happens when things going the other way? How are you going to get back? How are you going to... Okay. There might be a point. 6 1/3. To say could be worse, the Habs lost to San Jose. Are we out of our fucking minds? You're going to say the Habs lost to San Jose. The Habs are still trying to get Celebrini. The Habs are trying to be the worst team in the league. They want to be in the lottery. They have no aspiration of making the playoffs. What the fuck are we talking about? It could be worse. The Habs lost to San Jose. What the hell does that have to do with anything? We're talking about the Maple Leafs, not the Montreal Canadiens, who are trying to lose. They want to be worse than San Jose right now. They want to lose against San Jose. What the hell kind of a comparison is that? This is how we get to the point where we're happy with Leafs losses, because we're watching personal records on a daily basis. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? This is a joke. This is a joke. That had to be a joke. You're trolling at this point. This cannot be serious. I don't even think the Leafs played that bad tonight. It's more just a matter of stringing some things together into a more serious level. Like we continue to talk about Anaheim, San Jose. We get a little bit ahead of ourselves. We're watching this team and saying, okay, yeah, you win some of those games. Yeah, it came off of the heels of a great win against the LA Kings. I'm 100% on board with that. That was a great win. That was a great win. Anaheim, San Jose are two of the worst goddamn teams in the NHL. You should be winning those games. Now, I am happy with the fact that they came away and they won those games. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy with actually the way that they played with those games as well. I'm happy with the fact that they were able to figure those games out and deal with those teams. They played pretty decent. But like, when we're going to be talking about, oh, well, it's not that bad. You get a point in overtime. You're 3 games above 500. You're 3 games above 500 here. You are. So you got to start to prove something here. You sign Nylander. You know that he's not going to be traded. Somehow in his contract, the no move clause is effective now. So there's not going to be a trade with him when it comes to the deadline there. You know he's staying. Marner can't be moved. Matthews can't be moved. Tavares can't be moved. Riley can't be moved. So this is your guys. These are your main pieces. There's no major shakeup coming. You know that there's going to be some type of add at the deadline here. When you get to that, you're going to start to look for some defensemen. You're going to try to add some pieces. You're going to try to become a better team defensively. But what I'm looking for, and I think a lot of Leafs fans are, is some level of consistency to at least the identity of this team. This was not a bad game where you walk away and feel like, oh, we didn't play that great. We didn't play up to their level. It's literally just a matter of this was such a mediocre game. And why the hell did you have to have a mediocre game coming off of those games against San Jose is the point. Why did you have to come into this game against the Islanders and just play okay, just okay? Like, remember when Randy Carlyle went and talked about James Reimer and they asked him about his level of play in that one specific game, and he said it was okay, it was just okay. And people went nuts here in Toronto. This is what this game was tonight. It was okay, just okay. But for a team that's supposed to be this good, supposed to be able to lead the Atlantic Division, that was supposed to have an opportunity to run away with it here, being 3 games above 500 at nearly the halfway point is not that great. It's not that great. I just want some consistency. And this Islanders team, as much as I still don't think that they're that great of a team this year, they play a certain style of hockey to an extent because it's being built into them that's a little bit slower, it's a little bit heavier, it slugs you down a little bit, and it makes you play at a different pace. The Leafs could have rolled in here and just said, we're the Toronto Maple Leafs, this is the way that we play, and we're going to play that way. They kind of came out playing that way, and then the Islanders said, well, we want to play this way, and the Leafs said, okay, we'll play that way too, fine. And then that's what cost them. That's the habits that you want out of this team. That's the habits that you want out to get to a point where you can say, I actually trust this team. I felt like we were starting to build towards something solid because in the game against Anaheim, you showed up. It was on a back-to-back, but you showed up and you at least played. You won. We also need to remember here, like when we're talking about this and saying they showed up, I don't want to hear in the chat, I'm sorry, I just don't want to hear, well, they won that game. It's the goddamn Anaheim Ducks. They suck. They suck. Like, that team sucks. The San Jose Sharks might be one of the worst teams I've ever seen iced. We, as Leafs fans, are watching them basically being like, thank God they won because they didn't do what they normally did. Like, that's a kind of a sad level, a sad state of affairs. So to say, oh, well, we went from beating those teams and we were happy to losing to the Islanders here tonight and we're not. Yeah, because we went from the bottom of the bottom and saying, thank God we won these games. These are ones we'd normally lose. Thank God we won these games against these shit teams. To, here's a below average team. Can you take care of them here? You got one game on the road here tonight. Can you take care of them? You don't. You don't. You just can't find a way to get through it. You can't find a way to get it done. That's why there's frustration. That's why people doubt this team. That's why people aren't happy and just take comfort in personal records and personal achievements. They're great. I'm happy that they're having while we get to watch this. But it's about a whole lot more. The bigger picture is winning the Stanley Cup. It just is. That's what everyone is here for. That's what these guys get paid for. Whether you believe it or not, that's what they're getting paid for, is the hope that they can carry you or take you to the point of winning a Stanley Cup. And this just felt like, as a team, they were just kind of there. They just showed up to play. They didn't show up to win. The Isles... Jason, what are we talking about right now? What are we talking about? What are you talking about? Yeah, 6. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't frustrated when we start. We're going to throw dumb stuff out into the chat. Yeah, I'm going to get frustrated because, like, we're 3 games above 500 and we're sitting here stroking ourselves to Matthew scoring 2 goals and being like, oh, that's fine. He scored 2 goals. Who the fuck Yeah, it's great, but what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Super chat. Super chat from Jeff McKay. Jeff, again, this team plays too tight and heavy along the boards against teams that are better at it, and they won't change their strategy. Jeff, I would agree. I think that they kind of fell into that. They said, "Oh, you want to play that way? We'll play that way too." Here, kind of started to go into that spot where you're like, "All right, yeah, we'll play like how you want to play." That's what I'm saying. Why do you have to play how the other team wants to play every single night? And this is where you get into trouble. You go up against Boston and you're like, oh, we'll go toe-to-toe in physicality tonight. You go up against San Jose and you say, you want to be the worst fucking hockey team in the history of the NHL? We can match that. Obviously, thank God that they didn't in the last two, but hey, 6 1/3. 6 1/3. Newsflash, brother. 8 at the end of the column is still losses, buddy. 21 wins. 10 regulation losses. 8 overtime losses. Losses. 6. Wake up. Wake up. 21, 10 regulation losses, 8 overtime losses. You know what that would add up to? Do you know what 10 plus 8 is? That would be 18. So if you have 21 wins and 18 losses, 21 minus 18 would be 3. That's 3 games above 500. I'm sorry that we're struggling on math here, but that would still be 3 games above 500. 3 wins above 500. So I don't know. I can't like do math any differently for you, but losses, 10 regulation losses, 8 overtime losses. That's 18 losses. So, yeah. I know, math is a little difficult, but try to help the best that I can. Trying. Jeff, in terms of the strategy, I think this kind of goes back to what was asked earlier as well here. In terms of what, like, does this team have strategy? Do they, or is it just a players thing? Like, Michael was asking earlier, what system do the Leafs have, and is a lack of cohesive system a result of coaching or player-related issues? I think the problem is with this team that there's no clear identity or system in terms of how they're going to play on a nightly basis. It feels like it changes based on opponent. And yes, there is an extent of having to game plan and match with what your opponent is going to do. But I think the teams that are going to be more successful in long term are the teams that are mostly going to go into games and say, we play this way. We're not going to change how we play based on what the other team does. And it feels like the Leafs are the team that always adapts and molds and forms to how the other team wants to play. So you go into the game against Boston and you say, this Bruins team is heavy on the forecheck. They hit hard. They wanted to go to every single scrum, and they don't want to play a skilled game. Well, we're going to play that way. Well, if that's not in your identity and that's not in your DNA, then you're going to lose that matchup because that's just not who you are. This game against the Islanders are a slow, sluggish team. They're not that great offensively. This season, they haven't been that great defensively, but in terms of who they are, we've always known that they're a team who's going to try to slow the game down and try to drag you into something where it's going to be not many opportunities either way, and then you're just going to chip away and bury something on some type of opportunity that gets presented by the other team making a mistake. Well, this Leafs team says, okay, yeah, you want to play that game, we're going to go into that. They just didn't dominate the way that they should have or that they could have. You came out looking pretty good. You came out playing pretty well, and then it seemed like as the game went on, they just kind of fell into whatever the Islanders wanted to do, and then they played that style. I just don't understand why they had to get there. And Jeff, in terms of what you're saying is like, and they won't change their strategy. I just don't understand why there's not, it doesn't feel at least like there's this identity of how you're going to play. That's like I watched Colorado and Vegas play last night. That was just two similar styles that just went head to head, but that's because of who they are normally, is they both play that way. They're both heavy, physical, hard on the forecheck. They win corner battles. They get in on you. They finish every single check. They crash the net hard. They put pucks to the net, but they also have a abundance of skill around them to kind of complement all of that stuff. But watch McKinnon, Stone, Eichel, Rantanen, and watch these guys play. They play mean, they play heavy, they play hard. So those two teams going head to head, yeah, obviously Vegas last night gets shut out 3-0. But Colorado and Vegas in that game, they went toe to toe. Like if you're going to watch that, they've got, Vegas also has JJ Patera in net, who's their third string goaltender at this point. So it's a little bit of a tough situation for them. I just don't understand why this Leafs team can't roll into New York and say, we are the Maple Leafs, we are here to play this certain way, and we're going to take it to you. I just don't get that. I don't get why they can't do that. It feels like you can see hints of it every now and then, but I just don't get why we're at year 8 in these guys' careers, where we've watched it now for 7 consecutive seasons, where it's like, oh, now we're seeing hints of it. Like, that's where it feels kind of pathetic, is because now we're watching, it's Bertuzzi, Domi, McCabe, Nyes. These guys are the ones bringing it into your game and kind of dragging it out of you every now and then. But why can't it be here on a full-time basis? Why can't we see this every single night from these guys? I just don't understand that. I don't get why that can't be the case. Yeah, another super chat here. Arnav. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Arnav says, wait till end of January. This D is going to get owned. Okay. This Leafs team is actually better defensively, a little bit better defensively than I think people give them credit for. Probably myself included for the most part. But what I would agree with for a lot of things, and where I still come into approaching this trade deadline and approaching what this team needs to improve on, is that this is a Leafs defensive core and that can kind of hold up, or they can hold up in situations. They are not a defensive core that can overpower the other team. So if you're looking to weather a storm, if you're looking to put out fires, this defense can probably do that. But if you're looking to have long-term playoff success, win series, win Stanley Cups, I don't think that they can do that. So through an 82-game schedule, this defense, is it good enough? Yes. Is this defense going to get owned when it comes to February, March, April, the playoffs? I don't think that they're going to get owned, but I think that they've got enough holes in their system. They've got enough cracks in their lineup. They've got enough deficiencies in how they're built and how they're constructed that you will see them get exposed. You will see them lose battles, lose games because of that. Are they a terrible defense? No. Are they a below average defense? No. But they're probably just around average, above in regards to like being able to take it to the next level and actually have some type of success and actually be able to win. So I definitely think that they need to add. I think that they need to continue to improve. I think that there's a lot of room for a lot of that, but we're going to take callers here tonight. If you do want to call into the show, please send me a message on Discord, send me a message on Twitter, send me a message on Instagram, whatever's the easiest way. I'll get you guys that stuff. The link to call in here. Clearly, 6 does not want to call in and discuss, wants to troll in the chat, has no clue how to add up numbers there. 21 minus 18, 10 plus 8, 18. 21 minus 18, 3 games above 500. Thanks for coming. But we will take some callers here tonight. And we're going to start with a fan favorite. We haven't heard from him in a little while, but I know you guys are going to be anxious to get to this one, because especially after a game like tonight, where it feels like I came into this one thinking something about this game. Feels like the chat's in a completely different spot. I know me and him have gone back and forth on different opinions and different ways we viewed games or players or whatever it is in the past. But he's going to help us break this one down. Maybe set me straight if that's what it needs to be. Maybe I'm the one out of my mind right now. Maybe there's people in the chat who've got it right. But we're going to go to our first caller.
Okay, are you ready? Let's go! Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Sugar, spice, everything nice. Have a little class and do it right. I gotta say the way I feel. That's right. Buttercup, this is serious stuff. I love the people. You ready? Go. I don't get enough time in this show. I love the people. How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. How you doing? Lovely to look at and delightful to say. Love the hat. A wise guy, eh? You look good, really. You look good. Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Don't go change it. Do it your way. Go down blazing. Doing that one for the old grapes. Go down blazing.
All right, Gord. Welcome to the show. Haven't heard from you in a while, so I'm happy to have you here. I don't know how much of the show you've caught already to start here, but basically a recap of the last little while and where I'm at in here tonight. I think that the Leafs, we were happy with what happened over the last little while, and I think it was because we were probably a little overly excited based on the fact that they performed above what they normally do against those teams, if that makes sense. Like, you normally go into Anaheim, San Jose, come back, San Jose plays here, and you're like, well, we're going to play a garbage team. We're going to play a garbage game against them. We're going to give them a shot. And so normally, with a team that's supposed to be a Stanley Cup contender, you should be in a position where you're just going to take care of those. I just look at this game against the Islanders here tonight. I don't really have like a problem with how this Leafs team played. I don't think that they played poorly. I just look at this game and I think that you had an opportunity to come in here and kind of say, hey, we didn't play down to those teams. We had a nice win against the LA Kings to lead off that road trip. You come home, you beat San Jose handedly. Now you're going to go into this game here against the Islanders on the road. Let's take care of business. Let's go in there and dominate them from start to finish. I think they came out playing pretty well. And then I think they just kind of resorted to mediocrity the rest of the way. They said, hey, we're the Maple Leafs. We've got a bunch of goals here. Or we've got a lead here, a couple goal lead here. We're going to win this one because we've got on the blue and white. And that's all that matters. We've got more skill than them. And I think that that's the frustrating thing for me, where it was like, you started the game probably how you should have, and then you finished the game the exact same way we viewed this team in the past. Am I wrong here? Do you disagree? Do you have a different opinion on tonight's games? Like tonight's game, where are you at on this one?
First of all, good morning. And are you picking me up?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay. Good morning. And although it's a little late, Happy New Year, everyone. And yeah, I think you're bang on, to be honest with you. I can't disagree with anything you've just said there. What I would add is before that West Coast trip, the Leafs were, they're playing a little bit light and sloppy and loose, as we discussed the last time I think I was on here. They cleaned it up a little bit. Who did they play before they went to the West Coast trip and they had a close game? Carolina. That was a good game.
Yeah, Carolina. Yeah.
They lost to Carolina, but they tightened things up. Because they respect Carolina a little bit more. But I think they read the riot act and they realized it after getting thrashed by Buffalo, that look, it doesn't matter who you're playing. This is the NHL. I mean, I don't know. San Jose might disagree with that, but San Jose beat the Habs tonight, right? So,
yeah.
But this is the NHL, so you got to give it every shift. Like that's the whole thing. The issue with the Leafs is there are lapses in the game. There are far too many lapses in the game. I think their defense and their defensive structure is fine. It's those lapses, because you can see that their structure looks fine. They've got layers. They've got layers. They're defending. They're switching off on when forwards. Their gap is much better than it used to be. They're getting back pressure so that gap can tighten up. So that was an issue earlier in the season that people are complaining about coaching or whatever. Well, that looks like that's been cleaned up, and the The problem is the will to play a full 60 minutes. Like there are shifts. Like there are what were there it was 3-1, and there were two goals that were caused by number one, a lack of effort, and number two, just not bearing down. And the one was Nylander stopped moving his feet on the second goal. He stopped. He kind of did the reach, but you can see he did the reach for about 3 meters with no stride whatsoever. And Romanov, Jones didn't telescope out, so he gave him the top corner. That was an issue on that shot.
I think it also might have deflected off Nylander's stick. I thought, at least. Maybe
yeah, but Nylander, if you go back and look at the play, he stopped moving his feet. He just said,
"Oh no, I agree with you. I'm talking about from Jones's perspective. I think that puck, it looked like it deflected off Nylander's stick to go into the corner. Top.
Okay. So
I agree with you on
that
Nylander.
one. But he could have telescoped out more. Like when you're back deeper in the net, the shooter can see the actual mesh of the net, right? When you telescope out, the shooter can't see the mesh. As soon as the shooter sees a mesh, like his eyes open up like saucers, and there he goes. Yeah. He's going to try and shoot that target, right? But the issue there was Neil. And look, in the past, I've been a Nylander basher, but kudos to the guy for getting the contract. The guy has definitely turned the corner. Like, look, you can't
100%.
fault Nylander for lack of effort. He's doing a lot of power forward stuff that he never did in the past. And he's definitely, I'm not going to get on Nylander. Nylander, bravo, and kudos to the guy. But I'm not picking on Nylander. I'm saying this is throughout the entire team. There are
100%.
lapses. There are lapses in the game. They don't play a full 60-minute game. Rarely do they play a full 60-minute game. And that's what you need in the playoffs. So I totally agree with you. And I just came in your breakdown when you're talking about ties and how ties are actually losses, and I agree with you on that point. Like I look at the ties and the losses, and I put those both together as losses. When I look at the standings, to me, a tie is not a tie. You lost that hockey game. That's a lot. Yep. You get a point, but you lost the game. Okay, yes. So to me, that's a loss. And when you look at that, but that holds true for all the teams, right? So I look at the teams with the fewest losses, meaning the fewest ties and losses together. Those are the top teams. Those are the teams that you want to be like, right? So I wholeheartedly agree with you on that issue. When you look at the standings and you see so many ties, I consider a tie a loss. Yeah, but that's me. Okay. They're in the game. It shows they're in the game, but it also shows the other team is in the game too against them. And then when you like I said, when you get into the playoffs, there's no ties. So I look at that as a tie.
An overtime loss is an overtime loss in the playoffs, Gord. You lose in the playoffs. Exactly. They're not chalking that one down as 1 point for you.
Exactly. How many games were in overtime in that Florida series? 5, I think. 4? 4?
No, because there was 5 games in that series, so maybe.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Just talking off the top of my head here. Okay, so yeah, I totally agree with you on that point. And in terms of I think the defensive structure is fine. I just think that there's too much let up, and I don't know what that's due to. Is it due to the overconfidence in their offensive ability to score? I don't know, or if it's just a matter of 82 game seasons are really, really tough, with travel and everything else. And I know you're going to come back. Well, what about X team or Y team that they don't seem to have?
No, I'm not. What all I was going to say is I get the 82 game season. I get a tough schedule. I get having to do all this, the travel. I get it. I'm not going to take that away. It's more just a matter of this is year 8 of and it feels like it's the same thing, and you lose the same way and you play the same way. It's just I feel like I've been almost watching just one continuous season where it's almost minimal learning or minimal growth or whatever that's going on, right? And it's not look, I completely understand and agree. Yes, there is There is travel, and these things wear on you. 100% injuries, they wear on you. Sickness, it wears on you. It takes a toll on the team. But it's a matter of how you play and can you do that on a consistent basis. And Gord, to answer your question, we're going to talk about this is like, yeah, you don't play an A+ game every time. I get that. I'm on the same page. But I think the problem in this team and what you see with them and why they're at this point or why they do this stuff or why they lose games like this is, yeah, this team might love to win. I don't think they hate to lose. And I know that that's very, very cliche, but it feels like you lose this game tonight and they're like, well, back to Toronto. We'll play Colorado on Saturday. They have the same mindset as people in the chat who come here after and they're like, well, you got a point. It's like, whoop de fucking do. Like, I don't care. I do care about the point because these things matter in playoff positioning at the end of the season. But in terms of who you are as an identity and who you are as a team and what you're going to be when it matters the most, that's where this is the most telling to me. Like, we know that the Leafs are going to make the playoffs realistically, but okay, yeah, the points may matter. Getting this point because you went to overtime tonight and you lost the game. It might matter because maybe it's the point that keeps you above Tampa and you play a more favorable matchup. That's fine. But to your point, you go to overtime, you lose the game in the playoffs. It's a loss. You're 1-1. You're a loss. You don't get a point. Nobody cares. And it just feels like you lose this game here tonight and you're just like, whatever. Like, what is what it is. And again, I look at some of these other teams around the league. Look at McDavid in a post-game press conference. That guy, whatever you want to say about him, he goes into a post-game press conference. If they lose in overtime, they lose 10-0. He had 8 goals and they lost 9-8. He's going to go into that post-game press conference and he's going to look like he wants to kill the reporter asking him any questions. You know what I mean? Nathan McKinnon would probably throw the microphone at the reporter's question if he asked him what went wrong out there tonight, after a loss. Like this is the mentality that these guys have. McKinnon looks like he wants to kill his teammates when they lose games. You know, these guys look so angry about losing these games. They hate to lose. Now, Edmonton hasn't gone to the Stanley Cup final. They haven't won the Stanley Cup, but they've won more rounds than the Leafs in terms of how far they progress in the playoffs. You see Colorado's won. Mark Stone looks like a miserable human being when they lose. I just see these guys post games, and it looks like they're like, well, we played a good game tonight. We'll see you on Saturday against Colorado. And it's like, oh my God, guys, like 8 years in, we haven't figured out this killer mentality. I think like that's kind of what's going on here. And again, I feel like this has kind of gone to a very negative side for tonight's post game. But again, Gordon, I think my whole point to it and why it's bringing up these thoughts and these feelings about what's going on and what's wrong with this team or what's wrong overall is like tonight was a mediocre game. Like it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just a hockey game that was on TV, and it felt like that was like they were like, yeah, we're here for all the hockey game that we were supposed to play, and that was it. They didn't care if they lost this game tonight. They were just happy to get there and play. And like that's to me what bothers me because that feels like something in their game that is a limiting factor to them being able to have success long term.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me the concern is I'm not so concerned about the point or not the point or whatever. To me the concern is these type of mucky muck games. I call them mucky muck games where it's just a lot of there's nothing in the middle. There's not a lot of flow to it. It's not a flow game, you know. It's not a flow game. Like, and Islanders play that type of game, but that's playoff hockey, which is what concerns me. The mucky muck games require a full effort every shift, every second of every shift. And I think, or it's evident when you watch the Leafs, that they're not fully committed to full 60-minute effort. They can pay lip service to it, whatever. But you can see there are shifts in which whether guys get caught out there too long or they're stuck in the middle of plays trying to be overcautious. Like there was a couple of shifts there that were like 30-second, 35-second long offensive zone shifts by the Islanders, where they just kind of retreated back into the center, but there's no pressure on the cycle whatsoever. They're not closing. I think it was who's that female analyst, Cheryl Pounder. Cheryl
Yeah.
Pounder. So she did a good analysis in I know it's San Jose, but she did a good analysis on how the Leafs close on players, like how quickly they would close. I think she was isolating on Benoit specifically, and then she showed Matthews again how quickly they'll close on players defensively in the defensive zone to stop the cycle, to stop the rush, to prevent breakouts, etc. And that's when the Leafs are playing their best, when they're committed to that type of hockey rather than shinny. And we're over and over again talking about how the Leafs fall back on shinny. And they in this game, I don't think they did that. I don't think they were guilty of doing that. But there were some points in the game where they did. They kind of regressed back a little bit. Like I said, a couple of those 30-second to 35-second shifts. That is something they got to get out of the game. That is something. Now, I don't know. Is that coaching or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, could they do that if Tortorella was coaching? Could they do that if, Joe Quenneville was coaching? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's like watch that Flyers team right now too, right? Watch how they play. Watch their buy-in. Yeah, they lost the other night to Montreal, but watch how they play on a consistent basis. If you don't buy into their system, if you don't play the way that he wants you to play, guess what? You don't play. He doesn't care how skilled you are.
They're not a skilled team. Philadelphia
is not
a skilled. Yeah, they have to play that way. They have to play that way to be competitive. So, look at Vancouver. They got a lot of highly skilled players, but it wasn't until Tocchet came over and made them responsible, and you're not going to give an effort with Rick Tocchet behind the bench. It's impossible. You'll be sitting.
Also, by the way,
it doesn't matter who you are.
Right, Tocchet called out Besser. Tocchet called out Pettersson. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not afraid to do that. So, and I've been watching the Vancouver games, and they're a lot more consistent in their effort than they had been in the longest time. So now I don't know if it's a matter of the Leafs are kind of looking forward to the playoffs and looking ahead. I don't think so. I just think because this is something that's been going on since I can remember. This lack of consistent effort for 60 minutes. The lack of Look, I don't put much onus on overtime hockey because it's 3-on-3 shinny. So we can't, whatever. Anything can happen on 3-on-3 shinny, right? It's like it's the 60 minutes in between that really concern me. And it's those lapses. It's those lapses of effort within that 60. Look, if you got 4 lines, there's no excuse to have a lapse of effort. You know what I'm saying? Your shift is like 40 seconds. Give her for 40 seconds, get off. Let the other group come out, give her for 40 seconds, get off, give her. And when I see the Leafs doing that, having that giver type hockey, they are hard to handle, and they create a lot of offensive opportunities over there. Look at a couple of the first 2 Matthews goals, turnovers that they converted into goals. Hard down low, hard down along the wall. I mean, that has got to be consistent throughout the whole 60
But that's
minutes.
what I watch and I say why can't that stay the whole time? Why can't you do that the entire game? That's what I don't understand. Like Matthews' goal, he gets in hard on the forecheck. He wins the battle, takes it off the guy, gets it to Marner, goes to the front of the net, puck comes out front. He's able to grab the rebound, make a great play, pulling it to his backhand, tucking it in around Sorokin. Beautiful play, but all that is, that's a great, pretty finish. That's probably going to be on TSN tomorrow morning to start things off. We're going to say, watch Matthews, the patience, pulls it to the backhand. Amazing. But what's the best part about that is getting in on the forecheck, winning that battle, taking it away from the guy. Then you watch the Holmberg play where he gets in on the guy in the corner. Also, I think that that's great recognition. I think Mike Johnson alluded to it as well, where you're in the second period, if you're going to go down into the offensive zone, on the way back out, you're going to have an opportunity to get the quick change coming off because you're going to pass the guy in the neutral zone. It's a short change from the corner to send the guy back out. You're not going for some long change back the other way. So you're in the offensive zone. You can just rip over there, put some pressure on, not give the guy an easy breakout while the other guys come in. Like, it's a good way to filter everyone through. Gets everyone in to get out onto the ice, to be able to kind of back pressure while Holmberg is in there slowing things up. You get guys out on the ice into the neutral zone, then he can go off. Well, ultimately, he gets in on the forecheck, forces the turnover, forces the puck back to Matthews. Matthews is coming in on that forecheck as the secondary pressure, as the secondary wave, takes the puck to the net, makes a brilliant, like, this guy's insane, man. He makes another amazing play, pulls it to the backhand, slips it through Sorokin's 5-hole. 2 goals there from Matthews, but both of which are off of hard forechecking hockey. Like, yeah, they ended up in skill plays, but the first one is driven by Matthews doing the right thing, getting to the right place, finishing his check on the guy, but being there in the corner on him, taking the puck away. Then Holmberg, in hard on the forecheck, in hard on the guy, force a turnover, go back the other way. These are things that I'm looking at. I'm like, it's not like they played like soft hockey for the remainder of the game. They just didn't maintain that pressure for 60 minutes. And that's why I'm looking at this as like a disappointing game where I'm not pissed off about the game here tonight. I don't think that they played terribly. It's just like, you could have just continued to build off of what you had over the last 4 games here, where you beat LA, Anaheim, and San Jose twice. Now you go in and you started well, and then you just say, meh, whatever. We're up 3-1. We're the Leafs. We've got more skill than you. And like, that is like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work to have long-term success. I know I've said that a few times, but it just doesn't.
I'd like to see a stat on like the shifts after a goal, about what the possession time is for the other team, because they often like let up after they score a goal. The shift after a goal, or the 2 shifts after a goal, seems like the Leafs are always getting hemmed in their own zone. And it turns back to that dog park defense scramble business, or that retreating back to the center and allowing the other team just to cycle and cycle and look and look and look. And, you know, it seems to me that it's more often than not the Leafs get hemmed in after they score a goal. Like you said, they get up 2 goals. Wow, we're up now 3-1. Of course, with our firepower, we got this game in the bag. Like, I'm sure that's not in their mind, but deep down in their hearts, I think that's there, because you can see a kind of not such desperation type hockey afterwards. And that's what I'm like, they got to play. It's hard to play that kind of hockey, and that's what the Bruins play. And maybe, you know, there's an argument, like, if you play that type of hockey for 82 games, you could be like the Bruins out in the first round, like they were against Florida last year.
Yeah.
There's an argument for that, but there's also the argument of, you can't just turn it on. Okay, the playoffs are here now, so let's turn the switch, and now we're going to play playoff hockey. There's got to be, I'm hoping that lead up to the playoffs, in the month leading up to the playoffs, that the Leafs start paying more attention to that kind of hockey. That kind of hockey being defense first, relentless forecheck, like put away the. I saw Marner again on the wall in the offensive zone. He did a little back pass. He did a little back between the leg back pass that got broken up and went the other way on a 2-on-1 in the third period. Did you see that one? He's got that cute little, I'm going to do the little between the legs back passing, and his player wasn't even there. It was I think Riley for the Islanders, and Gord Miller goes, "Oh, that hit Riley." It didn't hit Riley. Marner did a cute little back pass between the legs, just inside the blue line. Like, come on, Mitch. I mean, look, and I know there's a lot of Mitch bashers on here, but I'm probably one of Mitch's biggest fans for many reasons. But I'll call a spade when I see it, and that kind of business has got to stop. That business has got to stop. You can't be giving up the puck at either blue line. Turnovers at either blue line are going to kill you, because they always end up in odd man plays. You always end up in odd man plays. You got to I saw a good play. This is a good play by Nyes today, where there was like I think 16 seconds or something left on the clock. I looked at the clock, and Nyes is rushing up, and just in the third period, it was he he got to the just before the blue, in between the blue line and the center line, and he had Matthews on the at center driving center ice, but there were two guys in between him and Matthews. Instead of trying to make a play, he just dumped it in. I mean, here we are, 16 seconds left. Just get it deep. Just get it deep. Don't try and go across. Don't make a lateral pass in that way, because there's plenty of time for the team to go the other way. So he just got it in deep. Simple play. Like, they got to get a little bit more of that mentality. Like, make the simple play. Make the simple play. Forecheck. Get be committed to defense, and then make those offensive plays when you turn the puck over and you get the other team out of position. I mean, that's the way they've got to. That's the mentality they have to have. And I don't know, is that coaching or isn't it coaching? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I really,
Well, I mean, to your point, like when you're saying, is it coaching? Is it not coaching? I don't know. Okay. Like from a system. Okay. I think that this is probably the best way to kind of evaluate some of what's going on. You talked about it a little bit yourself when you first came on here. One of my buddies I was messaging back and forth with earlier today as well. If you go through a lot of the Leafs individual player statistics, if you go through the underlying numbers on some of the guys, the underlying numbers on the team as a whole defensively, each of the individual players, like look at Timothy Liljegren's numbers right now. This guy's having an outstanding season based on the analytics of each of these things. You look at Mitch Marner. Everyone wants to turn and look at, he puts up so many points each season. Matthew, like all of these guys put up all these points every single year. The problem is, and it's to your point, and I think that this might tie back to where you're saying is like, when you're looking at this team, they've got all the pieces. I really think that this is the team that should be a very, very good team. The reason that I don't think this is a great team is because it feels like there's a lack of buy-in. And some of that is to what you're saying. And it's not buy-in to a system. It's not buy-in to a structure or whatever it is. It's buy-in to playing the game the right way. And they lack that buy-in. One of the things I've heard Jeff O'Neill talk about on Overdrive, which I think is bang on, I think it's 100% to the point, and it's really evident here in Toronto, is that he would talk about situational awareness, whether it's where you are on the ice, whether it's what the score is in the game or the time on the clock, is having an awareness of what it is. You're in the offensive zone up near the blue line. I can't remember exactly how much time was left in that play that Marner made, but maybe that's not the right time in a tight game against an Islanders team on the road to make a between the legs, no look behind the back pass out by the blue line. Like maybe that's the time to put it into the corner. But here's where I'm going with this, Gord. And maybe we're just going to continue to do this until our heads spin and this is the biggest useless point of all time, but there are no repercussions for any of these things. And I know we're going to fight with some of these people where they're going to sit here and say, you want to sit Mitch Marner? How's that going to help you win? I'm not talking about putting guys in press boxes. I'm not talking about only Mitch Marner. This is everyone. And the most important thing here is the stupidest, there's been a lot of them, but one of the stupidest things that I saw was when you watch Sheldon Keefe put David Kampf in the press box. Like, Gord, let's be real. Who the hell is that sending a message to? Who's that sending a message to? You're on the fourth line and you make a mistake, you're going to sit in the press box. The other fourth liners probably turned around and went, oh shit, all right, we got to watch out here. You think that had any effect on Nylander, Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Nyes, those guys in the top six? Like, they're not even batting an eye at the fact that David Kamp's up there in the press box. They're sitting there going, yeah, that's a fourth line guy. He made a mistake. He should be in the press box. Like, like that. Obviously, they're not actually thinking he should be in the press box, but you get that point. You get the idea here. There are no repercussions for anything that goes on here. I'm not asking to miss periods. I'm not asking for these guys to be put in the press box, but the inmates run the asylum.
Sure.
This is exactly who they've been. Miss a shift.
Like
Miss
send Gregor
5
out
minutes.
there on right wing instead of Marner for a shift to kind of send the message.
Get Nylander to take his spot.
Sure.
It's these things that it's just get Domi, get whatever it is. I don't care who it is. I don't care what they've done wrong. If you're gonna make rinky-dink plays like that are in these tight games, or they're in bad spots, or they're with too little time left on the clock when you're trying to preserve a lead, then maybe it's time to hand that down, because we're gonna say, sit down. Don't make that play inside of our blue line. Like, yes, you are an ultra skilled player. You are a guy who can turn things on at any given moment. But these are not the things that are going to win you playoff hockey games. Like, how often in the playoffs do you turn on the highlights in the morning? And I know I'm getting a little bit picky with some of the stuff, but how often in the playoffs do you turn on the highlights in the morning and you're like, here's a guy making a through the legs pass at the blue line out to somebody that's going in and scoring, going through the legs than themselves. Like, it's just, watch what happens in the playoffs and these teams that go on to win games. It's like, turn on the highlight in the morning and someone's forechecking in hard, stealing the puck off a guy, hitting a guy in the slot who's coming in the second wave of pressure and scoring a goal. Like the Matthews goals, like both Matthews goals actually that we saw here tonight. Let's dial those things in where, yeah, you can do the fancy stuff and you can trust those guys enough to do the fancy stuff, but don't do it all the time. Have some awareness.
There's a time and a place for those. There's a time and a place for those plays. And the place isn't inside the blue line with nobody behind you. That isn't the place for it. That's not the place for it. Because if you don't complete that play, it goes the other way. That's the thing. And that's the thing, a lot of the times you're talking about position, right? Being on the right side of the puck, being on the right side of the puck. You'll see like scrum plays or something, and you see our player on the opposing team's side of the puck rather than our side of the puck, which the right side of the puck, for anyone who's unclear, is between you and your goaltender, between the opponent and your goaltender. That's the right side of the puck. Wherever you are on the ice, including the offensive zone, of course, there are times you've got to be down low or whatever. But I'm saying 50-50 battles along the wall with nobody behind you, for example, or with one guy behind you, but who's had to back off because there's a 50-50 battle there. So he's got to be, like, the defenseman's got to be aware of that. So you'll see the one guy on the wall. The guy on the wall is battling, so we don't know who's going to win that puck. And our forward is on the offensive side of the puck rather than the defensive side of the puck. Like that happens quite often, too often. And again, that could be a coaching thing. That could be just just a lack of awareness, a will thing, or you brought up Jeff O'Neill, and he called it. What did he call it? Want to score a goal hockey as opposed to hockey, right? Like, let's score a goal hockey. He calls it let's score a goal hockey, right? So there are, you got to, of course, scoring goals are absolutely necessary, but you got to think defense first, and the goals come from that. The goals arise out of that. Yeah. So, yeah, I totally agree that there are still some of those issues plaguing the Leafs where they get into, I call it shinny hockey, right? They're just playing shinny hockey. So they got to play hockey because that's playoff hockey. And hockey, it's forecheck, it's picking up the man, it's back pressure, it's all of those little things, boxing guys out in front, getting support on those 50-50 battles, being on the right side of the puck, all of those things, and then creating offense out of turnovers. And they were doing that on the West Coast. They did that on the West Coast. They did that against LA. They did that against Anaheim. Of course, Anaheim and San Jose. But if you go to sleep on those teams, they'll beat you too. Anaheim beat Colorado, or San Jose beat Colorado. San Jose beat Vegas. I mean, yeah, because those teams didn't take them seriously, and they probably took their foot off the gas. Not so much, again, mentally, but deep in their heart, they're like, we're going to win this game, kind of thing. Yeah. Deep in their heart, without actually, articulating that in their psyche or whatever. But deep down inside, they know, this is going to be a cookie night or whatever. And then when you're getting into the game and suddenly it's, 2-1 San Jose, you can't just, it's hard to just turn that switch on. You got to have that mentality from the get-go and right throughout the full 60 minutes. And the Leafs' lack of a full 60-minute concentration, determination type of hockey, like desperate hockey, I call it. Just play.
Yeah.
Why can't you play desperate hockey in January? I don't understand. Why can't you? Like I said, you got 4 lines. You're getting out there for only 30, 40 seconds per shift. You got to be able to give her every single shift. But guys fall into that shinny mode way, way too often. It seeps into the game. And maybe that's a coaching issue. Maybe it's a coaching issue. I don't think the system is bad. Because you can see they got layers of support in every part of the rink. Sometimes on the forecheck, F2 is a little bit tardy for support. I noticed that a lot. Too much of hoping at the first guy in F1 loosens the puck, so he's in the slot to pick up a pass to tap her in, rather than going down deep with the F1 guy to help out and let F1 hit the guy and let F2 pick up the puck loose and then make a play from there. There's a little bit of that seeps into their game every once in a while that's problematic as well, which prevents them from sustaining the forecheck. That's it.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my take. One more little thing, because I got to go, about a little bit of back and forth on Robertson, and Robertson being in and out of the lineup, and Robertson needs to develop and whatnot. Look, guys, the NHL is not a developmental league. That's for the AHL. The NHL is about results, about winning. So the coach makes the lineup that he thinks is the best lineup to give the chance a team to win. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's not about developing Robertson.
Well, Gord, also, I would just jump in to say, especially with a team like this Leafs team is not in a developmental stage. Development was 6 years ago. It was 7 years ago when these guys were first getting here. Their first 1, 2, 3, but maybe even 4, if you want to call it that, years in the league. I'll let you continue. I just wanted to jump in and say, like, Anaheim, San Jose, Arizona, like, those guys have guys that you can say are developing. You're fine. The Habs, like, you're fine with them losing games, giving guys opportunities to play and be in certain positions, push them up lineups, give them certain looks, situations, exposure. Those are developmental situations for teams. Yes, you obviously need to still try to develop these guys, but I'm going to let you continue because you're bang on here.
Yes. So in the beginning, I was definitely one of Robertson's bigger supporters. Like I said, give this kid some runway, give this kid a shot, give this kid at least 20 games. I mean, you keep bringing him in and out of the lineup, you got to give this guy a shot, right? And I think the Leafs have done that. And then I'm really focusing on Robertson's game. Like, he's got skill, he's got a great shot, but here's the problem: he's far too light. So he can't sustain a forecheck. And talking about those 50-50 battles, he loses 80% of those 50-50 battles, whether it's due to reach because the other guy's taller or due to weight because the other guy's heavier. So he's losing those battles. He can't sustain a forecheck. You got a guy in a third line or a fourth line that can't sustain a forecheck. Now, there could be an argument, well, maybe give this guy some first line minutes with Matthew and Marner, and maybe drop Nyes down, who can definitely sustain a forecheck, loosen pucks, but
why would you take that away from Nyes?
For the amount of ice he gets on that top line, he should be producing more points, especially with his skill. But so maybe Nyes needs to get bumped down a little bit and have somebody else up in that spot. I don't know, but I like Nyes' game. I'm just as an example kind of thing, right? But Robertson. In Robertson's game, so one thing, he can't sustain a forecheck. Another thing I notice is he's so hyped up to make plays that a lot of the time he'll fumble the puck. I don't know if you've been noticing this as well, but he'll fumble the puck. Like he does try to make that really quick like gather and stick handle, and he'll bobble the puck and lose the puck a lot. a lot. I don't know if you've been noticing it, but I've noticed it a lot, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so and the coaches, I brought this up a long time ago about Babcock, who, by the way, wouldn't be shy about benching Marner because he did and put Marner on the fourth line, and I kept other guys in the Marlies to develop, in time, kind of thing. So he was as big as an asshole as Babcock was. I definitely liked his coaching style and his game plan, but he's too much of an asshole. So let's not get on that. But the point is, these guys, we watched the game live, and then we were like, we're cheering, we're fans, we're hoping for the best for all of our players, blah, blah, blah. These guys now are going to go back and go over hours of film and break down every single play. You think they're not looking at Robertson like under a microscope and looking at and then looking at Holmberg on those same plays? Like Holmberg on that goal the other night, I was less impressed with the one-hand tuck than I was with the lean in, drive to center ice, and make that power move to get a play on net. You know what I'm saying? So they're looking at that too, and they're going, this guy can make those heavy plays that Robertson can. So it's they're going over this stuff, and they're going over this stuff. What gives us a better chance? What gives us a better chance to sustain a forecheck? What gives us a better chance in our own zone defensively? What gives us a better chance? They're going through it. So I like to see Robertson, do well too. I like the kid. I really do like the kid, and I like his skill. However, that said, he's where he should be, which is he's a 13th forward until he can prove otherwise. And he's had a little bit of runway, and he maybe other players get a little bit more runway than he has and get favored, but there are reasons for that. And some of those reasons are the ones I pointed out with Holmberg. So I just wanted to address that Robertson issue and that argument that's ongoing, because I think if you go over and you look at it, the game in a really detailed way, you can see there are certain details in Robertson's game that the reason why Keefe will choose Holmberg, a guy like Holmberg, over him.
There's things as well when you watch Holmberg, McMahon, Gregor, that these guys do that are impactful in other ways than what Robertson does, that Robertson doesn't do. And then the other thing that I would say about Robertson is Robertson brings a lot of what you feel or what is kind of deemed to be already on this team, and it's that speed and skill kind of stuff. So even look at that line. Look at Yarncroke, look at Domi. If you look at those guys, you're going to say for the most part, these are guys who are fast, they're good playmakers, they've got good hands, and they can score goals. Well, what is Robertson? Robertson is just one more of those. He's a smaller guy who's fast, he can make plays, and he can score goals. And he's just kind of another piece on there. So if he's going to come in and kind of demand himself a spot, then he's got to make an impact. I saw a comment after the last game where someone was like, oh, you're contradicting yourself with Robertson if he's got to develop and then you don't want him to play or whatever. My point is this with Robertson. I was confused as to why Keefe took him out after he scored against San Jose. Like, I don't think he played poorly. And if you're going to look at a guy and be like, oh, you got to give him an opportunity, then you'd think that after he scores and plays pretty well, then that's your chance to leave him in. You decide not to, or Keefe decides not to and takes him back out of the lineup. And it's just kind of like, what are we doing? Because if you're in that back and forth with the coach, then it tells me one thing at least. It's that he doesn't trust the guy. He doesn't trust him to be out on the ice. He doesn't want him to be out on the ice because, like you're saying here, Gord, he doesn't see him as being a guy who can give you the best opportunity to win night in, night out, shift by shift, whatever it is that you want to evaluate it on. But I just think you've got a bunch of these pieces. He could probably go somewhere else and be put up into a better spot for him. But that better spot is not here in Toronto because he's a left winger. He's not a centerman, so he's not jumping up into any center position past any of the guys here. He's not taking Bertuzzi's spot, and truthfully, he doesn't deserve Nyes' spot. Like, the impact that Nyes can make on that line, points or no points, Nyes to me is a similar argument as Bertuzzi. Yeah, Bertuzzi doesn't have the craziest amount of points. He's not putting up a ridiculous amount of production, but what he does in all the other areas of the game, are things that we're going to be looking at come playoff time and saying, thank God those guys are in our top six because they forecheck hard, they drive the net, they do big, mean things.
Eyes continually. Right.
So Robertson's not going to jump them here in Toronto.
How many
He's
goals
just not.
has the Leafs scored with Bertuzzi planted right in the in front of the blue paint in the goalie's eyes where he doesn't get a point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and how many goals they score with Bertuzzi getting in on the forecheck and causing a loose puck, and then the play is sustained in that zone, and then something arises out of that. Yeah, and like I said, the thing with Robertson is why, you like you brought up, Keefe doesn't trust him. Why doesn't he trust him? It's because they go over the game film. These coaches are at the rink all night and going over game field, you can hear Keefe talking in his interviews. I haven't looked at the game yet. I got to go back and look at it. And then he and all the coaching staff are going to go down and break down every single play. And they're going to look at it. They're going to look at it in detail. And when they talk about the details of the game, that's what they're talking about. The right side of the puck, winning 50-50 battles, not fumbling the puck, not, making a pass in the guy's skates instead of on the tape. All of those little things are looking at every single little detail. And then they make a lineup based on what they think their best chance to win is.
Yeah.
That's it. I want Robertson to be a 30-goal scorer for the Leafs and come out and just, set the. But I'm waiting for it, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen because he's fumbling pucks, because he's not getting. Look, the goal the other night, beautiful, nice goal, but he could have had a cigarette and a cup of coffee on that spot while he's picking out his spot. He had so much time and space inside the circle that, come on.
Yeah. All right, Gord.
But he's got to make more opportunities for himself to shoot. He's got to get into that spot more often and make more opportunities for himself to shoot. And Domi's a pretty good playmaker, so there's no excuse. I mean, he's not, he's on the third line, but it's not that bad of a third line with Domi and Yarncroc.
It's a pretty. Also, by the way, just so you know, like I had Jason from the Rink Rat Report on. He went through some of the analytics, whether people like them or not. I personally don't have a problem watching the third line. Some nights it feels like they're just out there for a skate, and not in a bad way, more just like they just kind of exist. They get on the ice, nothing happens forward, nothing happens against, they get off the ice. Like they're just out there and then they're off the ice. But based on production, based on points, the third line on this team is one of the best third lines in the NHL right now, just the way they operate. And that's the combination of Domi, Yarncroc, and whoever the hell is on the left wing. Like they just are. So to your point, like, yeah, they're a pretty decent third line.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just wanted to make that last point. And last thing I'm going to say before I leave is love the T-shirt, guy. I saw The Who in 1976 at Maple Leaf Gardens with Keith Moon, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Just outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah, I got this one from my uncle. So, yes, pretty cool T-shirt. But,
okay,
Gord, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Have you heard Live at Leeds? Live at Leeds. Awesome. I'll
give it I'll check it out after this.
Live at Leeds. Listen to that. If you're gonna listen to The Who, man, Live at Leeds, maximum rhythm and blues. Anyway,
all right, I will.
Nice
check it out.
It's been a while, but go Leafs, go! And don't forget to smash that button and subscribe, guys. See ya.
Thanks, Gord. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in here as well. There you go, Gord's Corner. I haven't had it in a little while, but straight from Japan, guys, that is Gord's Corner. Also, shout out to my old teammates from the Markham Waxers. Blummy, appreciate you watching. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much. Thanks for the support there. Everyone else who's watching right now, thank you guys very much. But if you haven't already, take just 2 seconds out of your day while you're watching right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications here on this channel so you get notified every single time videos come out, like the one earlier today talking about Corey Perry, the rumors there. I'm not really going to get into it here tonight because if you want to know what my thoughts are on Corey Perry, you can go and watch the video. And if you still have questions, you come back Saturday. You come back Saturday night after the game against Colorado Avalanche, and I'll answer those. But if you're watching right now, you haven't already, hit the like button, hit subscribe here on the channel. I do appreciate all the support. We do have a super chat that came in here while Gord was on the line, so let's get to that. Phenom with the super chat. Phenom, thank you very much. I appreciate the support there. Phenom says, Zach, if you look at the Leafs' January schedule, do you agree? Well, know just how good they are at the end of the month? Lots of good teams coming up. To an extent, yeah. To an extent, I would say. This is kind of where I was looking at with this game here tonight, where I'm hoping you kind of can at least go into this game and it's hard. It's hard because you go into this game here tonight and you kind of feel like you should be able to take advantage of this Islanders team, despite the fact that it's on Long Island. It is a road trip, and you've played 4 games here now. 3 of them were which were on the West Coast, but now you're back on the East. You've been here for a few days. You should be able to take advantage and take it to this Islanders team. You're going to have a tough stretch here. Now, when it comes to this Leafs team, they usually play up to their opponent and then down to their opponent. So they should be in these games. To me, the biggest thing that I'm going to be looking for is not did they win, did they lose. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at how they played. Like, people come here and they get mad and say, "Oh, we beat Chicago in overtime. Why are you upset?" Well, you blew a 4-goal lead. You blew a 5-goal lead to the 4-goal lead to the Habs, and they come back and tie it, and you go to overtime and you win in overtime. Like, it's the way about these wins. I'm not looking for whether they win or whether they lose. Now, it is going to be pretty important to win these games because, as I mentioned, 21 and 18. 10 and 8, 18, 21 minus 18, 3 games above 500, 21 and 18. You're only 3 games above 500 right now. You got to get points. You got to win these games. You got to put yourself, because you didn't bank enough at the beginning of the season. You started out kind of slow. You didn't start out with this hot start that a team like Vancouver did, where they bank all these points, and you can afford some of these ebbs and flows of the season where you dip and you go down, and now you're in a little bit of a slump. You're not winning these games because you banked them at the beginning, and you're fine. This Leafs team didn't do that this season. So, over the next little while, it's going to be pretty important to win some of these games. But I still think that the one thing that I'm going to be looking at with this team against these other teams is how do they play? When you play against Colorado, are you going to try to play some fast-paced, high-scoring, up and down type of hockey? Or are you going to go in there and are you going to try to play physical? Are you going to just try to weather storms? Like, what are you going to do? Because I think that this Leafs team needs to start to show this identity of, like, we are the Maple Leafs, we play this way, and we're going to play this way no matter who the opponent is. You can game plan and scheme for certain teams. You can scheme for certain things that they do. You can scheme for certain ways about power plays and penalty kills and whatever. Be aware of Ovechkin stands way off to the side on the power play. You got to watch him because he doesn't move and he's going to rip one-timers. But I think we need to establish an identity here. And when you're going to go up and play against these good teams, I don't want to see the Leafs change how they play on a nightly basis against each of these teams where it's just going to be a different thing every single night, and you're going to conform to the other team. Teams that have success in the playoffs, teams that go on to be able to win Stanley Cups, they are established. They built this character, they built this identity, and they just roll into other games against these teams, no matter who you are, no matter how good you are, and they just say, we're going to play this way against you because we are this good, and we are confident and comfortable with how we play. Feels like the Leafs are very back and forth, and I want to see them build some type of identity. I just want to see that come to fruition over the next little while and against some of these teams where you can say, we're going to go into these barns, or we're going to have these teams come to us, and we're going to play Maple Leafs hockey, and we are going to fuck you up, and you're going to come here, and we're going to get 2 points, and we're going to send you home. That's what you want to see from this team. Start to finish, play a full 60 minutes. Don't take it off the gas. We got a couple things we got to get to before we close this one out, but let's first and foremost get to our play of the game. All right, play of the game here tonight. I've got 2, but they're basically the same play. It's kind of hard to distinguish either one, and it's going to be both Matthews goals. The first one is Matthews getting in on the forecheck, getting in hard, winning the battle, getting the puck over to Marner, and getting to the front of the net, and being able to score. But it starts with the forecheck. It starts with getting the puck into the corner, getting in on the guy quickly, and winning that battle. Then he's able to score, make a nice play in front. Look over at Pontus Holmberg. Gets in on the corner, gets on the forecheck quick, gets on the guy quick, forces the turnover. Matthews able to come and get the puck, take it to the net, and score. The honorable mention here is easily the goal that McMahon scored, partially because Gregor's able to hold that puck in. And by the way, Mike Johnson brought it up on the broadcast, and he was spot on with it, is if you are the fourth line player, you don't want to just take yourself out of the lineup. You don't want to be the one to say like, yeah, I'm going to come out, because you're fighting for that spot every single day, every single practice. You're fighting to stay in the lineup. Start fighting to be a consistent NHL player, an everyday NHL player. He jumps right back in, as he should. And didn't miss a beat, it seemed like. He played a really good game here tonight. And then that goal is him holding the puck in, walking across, becoming a threat, drawing all eyes across to him, including the goaltender. And he makes a beautiful pass down low to Bobby McMahon, who's able to finish that one for his second goal of the season, which was also his second goal of his career, I believe. So shout out to Bobby McMahon for that and being able to bury. But that's honorable mention. The play of the game is both Matthews' goals, because effectively when you're going to look at them as hockey plays, it's the same hockey play, and it's the right way. And that's how you're going to score in the playoffs. That's how you're going to make other teams make mistakes, and that's how you're going to have success. Do that for 60 minutes, though. It's not like you're going to score the same way for 4 goals a night and where you're going to get in on the forecheck and do that, but you can cause teams to make mistakes. You can force teams to make, with pressure, to turn the puck over and give you opportunities. You can create your own chances because of good offensive play, good defensive play in the offensive zone as well, I think is another way to look at it. So when I'm looking at those plays, I think that they're just good hockey plays done the right way that have a positive, really strong positive result. Let's wrap this thing up with our grades of the game.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Grades of the game. Send yours in the chat here. I'm just going to go with like a B. Like, this is just an average game. Yeah, you get a point here, but you did have a 3-1 lead. You should have been able to hold on to it. This Islanders team hasn't really been able to contribute that much offensively over the last little while. You should be able to hold on to that. You basically felt like with where you went from at the beginning, where you were mostly taking the play to them, it felt like the Leafs were mostly in control, and then they relinquished control. They give it back to the Islanders, and they said, if you want to come back into this game, you can have at it. You can find a way back in here. And I think that that's what we need to eliminate from the game. I saw someone in the chat there talking about no third period goals on the road. Bullshit. I don't give a fuck about the no third period goals on the road. Like, no one cares about that. You're not looking for a tie game here. You're trying to win games. Colorado on Saturday night, if it's 2-2 after the second period, isn't coming in here and saying, let's get to overtime 2-2. Like, no, they're going to try to win this game in regulation. They're trying to win this game in the third period, and they're going to step on your throat. There's no taking it off the gas. 3-3 going into the third, they're not content. They're going to end this thing. They're going to come out and find a way to try to win. There's no stepping off the gas. That's not how you play in the playoffs. You're not trying to get to overtime and say, we'll just deal with it then, or, oh, it's on the road, so we're fine to lose here. No. You're going in there and you're trying to win a game, because you're not saying we're going to allow the way the other team wants to play to creep into how we're going to play, and they dictate it. You're just not going to do that. You're just not going to do that. Come out in the third and take it to them. This is just a game that I turned on the TV and you watched, and there was not much. There was not much going on here. Like, this was 2.5 hours of like, when is this over? Because it just felt like they showed up, the Islanders showed up, and they said, we have to play this game. It's on the schedule. Let's get out of here. It is what it is. It was just a game that was not bad, not good. It was just an average game, and I felt like I just wanted a bit more, especially coming off of 4 straight wins. Like, you feel like you'd have some type of intensity. You feel like you would have some type of passion to go out there and not lose this game and continue this winning streak and push yourself beyond being 3 games above 500. Win here tonight, you push that up to what, 5 games above 500 now because you're not taking a loss and you're adding on the win. Like you can continue to extend this and open up the gap. You can continue to extend this. I don't know. I'm just at a B. Like it's just a whatever game. It's a whatever game. Some throwaway game up in Rochester, if you know that quote from Miracle on Ice. That's going to be it for tonight's stream. Appreciate Gord for calling in. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Thanks for everyone who hit that like button, subscribed here to the channel. I do appreciate all the support. Appreciate people showing up. Appreciate people watching the stream, watching the videos that are put out there. So thank you guys very much. Thanks to everyone who calls into the show here as well. Look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday night after the game against the Colorado Avalanche. If anything happens in between then, you can likely find it here on this channel. Maybe, just maybe, a man named Corey Perry joins the Leafs team over the next little while. We'll see what happens there. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can go check out the video that I put out earlier today about Corey Perry, about whether or not I thought this was a good win or a good signing for the team, whether they should have him here, whether you'd want to go and sign him. I broke it all down. Also, you guys hit 50 likes here. Not going to chintz out of it. Thanks for the 50 likes. Appreciate that. This has been game number 39 for the Toronto Maple Leafs against the New York Islanders, losing this one 4-3 in overtime. Going to 3 games above 500, 21, 10, and 8. 3 games above 500, 21, 10 plus 8, 18, 21 minus 18, 3. 3 games above 500 for this Maple Leafs team on the season. Thanks to everyone who tuned in here tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you all on Saturday. And Leafs fans, as always, keep Leafing.